going to start this video by telling a little riddle, if you will, one that I sometimes tell when I'm teaching cognitive psychology. So I'm not going to give too much information, but I'll explain it in a second. So in this story or riddle, a boy and his son are driving in the car. The dad's driving and the son is in the back seat, and they are unfortunately in a pretty bad car accident. And they're in an area that happens to be sort of between two different towns. And so when this accident happens and they both end up unconscious, someone calls 911. A couple of ambulances come, one from one town and one from another town. And when the ambulances arrive, they decide just to try to divide and conquer to make sure that they can give this man and his son the best care possible. So the father is taken in one ambulance to one hospital, and the son is taken in a different ambulance to a different hospital. So they're in two separate towns now. And the father is unconscious. They're working on him at one hospital. The son at the second hospital is also unconscious, and they rush this boy into the surgical wing, and they decide pretty quickly he needs surgery. He actually needs a specialist to help him. So they bring him into the operating room, and the surgeon is ready to go, is ready to help, until the surgeon sees the boy. And the surgeon says, "Oh no, no, I can't operate. I can't operate on my son." Now at this point, some people might be like, "Wait a minute, what? I thought dad was at the other hospital unconscious. How can dad be trying to operate on the son?" It's a little confusing. It gives a lot of people pause until you kind of work through it and you figure out, oh, the surgeon's the boy's mother. The surgeon is a female. Now it's 2020 as I'm recording this video. Most people have seen female surgeons on TV or the news or whatever. We know that women can be doctors, and yet for a lot of us, this gives us a little bit of pause, and it can be a little bit confusing. Does that mean that we're sexist? No, it means that we have probably some implicit bias. It means that we have a concept or an idea of what a surgeon is. And that concept has been developed over time. And because of the types of things that we're exposed to and the examples that we see of surgeons, over and over again, we just sort of associate surgeon with male. Just like we tend to associate nurse with female, we tend to associate teacher with female, although we might associate professor with male. There's a lot of these just sort of very quick and without a whole lot of thought, these associations that are put together. And this is how our cognitive systems work. And our cognitive systems need to work this way. We need to be very quick to be able to walk into a room or come into a new space and recognize objects or things and put them into categories very quickly. So I can go into a classroom at a campus where I've never been before, and I can go in and I can see a number of chairs or desks, places for people to sit, and I already know what those are, even though I've never seen those specific chairs before, because I have a concept of chair in my cognitive system, and it allows me to very quickly and very efficiently identify these concepts. He said this is a heuristic that we use, just a mental shortcut. Sometimes we call them schemas or scripts, just sort of ideas of what a chair is, or what an apple is, or what a surgeon is, a doctor, a nurse, and so on. Now, the same concept, the same idea that allows us to very quickly categorize chairs also is what we use to very quickly categorize people. And so even though many of us are not explicitly sexist or explicitly racist, most of us, many of us, if confronted with that idea, would say, no, no, oh no, I'm an ally, I'm a proponent of women in science, and that actually can genuinely be true. At the same time, we have these implicit, sort of, by implicit I just mean sort of unconscious or underlying associations that we've made. And we use these schemas or these scripts, these concepts, we might even call them stereotypes, to very quickly put things into categories. It's not always a bad thing. It helps us in a lot of situations. The problem is just that when we're doing it with people, it can lead to problems. And unfortunately, we don't get to control the types of examples that we see. So as much as I love the idea of women being in science, I am still going to see many, many, many examples of men in scientific roles, or men as doctors, men as surgeons. And I might still see a lot of examples of more females in other types of professions. And those examples that I see over and over and over again are being used to shape my concept, my understanding of what that thing is. From a neuroscientist perspective, we can say that neurons that fire together wire together. So for example, if you hear two things together over and over and over again, like male surgeon, male surgeon, male surgeon, those two things are going to fire at the same time and they become more associated. So that even if you don't believe that only men can be surgeons, you're still going to associate those things more strongly together. I think it's really important to understand that this is how our cognitive systems work. And it works in this way because it is efficient and it's effective in terms of our being able to quickly categorize things, which we need to do all the time. Every time you go into a new room, you cannot learn every single object that's a chair. You cannot have to do that. That's just too much. So it's good in that way, but it's not so good when we're talking about people. And so it's very important for us to understand that we all have these implicit biases. We have stereotypes, scripts, or schemas, whatever we want to call them. They are in all of our heads. They just are. And so it's extremely important for us to recognize that and to try to sort of check ourselves. So when we hear that sort of riddle or story at the beginning and we get to the end and we're kind of like, what is that? How does that work? I'm a little confused. We take pause, recognize why that might be. And rather than sort of denying and saying, no, I don't see gender, I don't see color, I'm colorblind, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist. Rather than having that sort of reaction, I think we need to accept, yeah, I'm a person and I have implicit biases and I need to actively work against those implicit biases when I'm doing things like reviewing applications for jobs or for graduate students or for interns or whatever. When I'm thinking about what I might say in different situations, when I'm talking to my kids about sex or gender, when I'm talking to my kids about race, it's important for us to acknowledge that we all have these implicit biases, these schemas, these scripts, these stereotypes, and try to really actively and explicitly work against them.